Hello everyone. In this video, we will discuss about natural language processing. So this is one of the module in artificial intelligence. This is very important module that you have to understand in detail because we all know that AI is being ruling the world, and most of the times we will be handling the unstructured text. So like we are going to have a deeper understanding on how this natural language processing work. So let us try to understand what this natural language processing means, right? So sometimes what happen, like whenever we receive the emails from someone, and it is, you can see that emails might be placed in the spam folder. Have you noticed that? Like if you get into the spam folder and look into that, you can see a lot of similarities in the subject lines, right? And also sometimes what may happen is like you might have missed a phone call, and immediately you can see that like you can get a transcript on a voicemail in the mail inbox or the smartphone app, right? Or else like whenever you try for something, or you're trying to get some or sometimes you are googling it to get some content, and sometimes the topic will be suggested, right? Or the entities could be suggested, or the category tags, right? So what are these basically, right? So whatever I'm talking over here, like you could see something related to the text. That's what I'm saying. Yes. So you are seeing Bayesian spam filtering, which is a statistical NLP technique that compares words in spam to valid emails to identify junk mail. So what do I mean over here, right? So whenever we talk about mail, it could be a spam mail or it could be a ham mail, right? We do not know. See, like when how the system or the machine is understanding whether the mail is a spam mail or a ham mail, whether it is the more important mail or it is not really an important mail. It could be a mail that is a marketing mail. So how it is finding out that, right? So this is a crucial question sometimes that we get in our mind, right? And also we can see something like speech to text conversion, right? So that is also an NLP capability. And sometimes when we use NLP methods to search or topic modeling, entity extraction, or content categorization. So what does that basically mean? Just imagine that I am a HR and I'm giving an advertisement on LinkedIn or some of the platforms for the jobs, right? So what is happening is I'm receiving around 1,000 resumes, and like how I'm going to handle all the 1,000 resumes. It is impossible to look into all the 1,000 resumes, and I cannot take any decision on that, right? So what can I do now? What I can do now, like I may be using a model called entity, named entity recognition model. So from that, I can get to know about the location, the skill, or the organization where the person has worked before, or else like it could be like whatever information I can extract that can be extracted, right? So these are all basically the natural language processing model. So what is meant by natural language processing? It is a branch of artificial intelligence that helps computers to understand, interpret, and manipulate human language. So what does this do? This fills the gap between human communication and computer understanding, right? So like in case when you try to enter into a website, sometimes in some websites you might have noticed this, it will be asking you, hi, how are you, and what do you need from here, right? So have you all seen that? So basically it is behaving like a human, and it is trying to fill the gap between human communication and computer understanding. So a processing of natural language is required when you want an intelligent system like robot to perform as per your instructions when you want to hear a decision from a dialogue-based clinical expert system, right? So you can say that the input and output of an NLP system can be speech or written text, right? Fine. So, like, if we have to understand about this NLP, first of all, we should know what is structured data and what is unstructured data. So let us try to understand over here. You can see number of rows and columns over here, right? So this is something looking like an Excel. Yes, so it can be displayed in rows, columns, and it could be some relational databases, right? Right. So that's clear, right? Fine. So that's about that. And the second one, you can see that it could be based on numbers, dates, and it could be something like string. It could be like CSVs, Excel files, right? And like it is estimated 20% of the enterprise data is basically the structured data, and it requires only less storage, and it is easier to manage and protect with the legacy solutions. But what are these unstructured data? So let me tell you, say for example, I have a company or I'm selling some products. So when people purchase the products from me, they will be writing in a forum about the feedback of the product that they purchased from me. So it could be positive feedback or negative feedback. And when we talk about structured data, it is going to be inside the rows and columns. So there is some structure over here, but you can see here there is no rows or columns. People write in the way whatever they think. It could be images, it could be audios, it could be videos, or it could be emails or spreadsheets, right? So most of the times 80% of the data are unstructured data, and the storage wise also it requires more storage, and also it is difficult to manage and protect with the legacy solutions, right? So these are the major differences between structured and unstructured data. So now in terms of AML part, if you look into that, it can be structured data can be easily used by machine learning algorithms, right? And also it can be easily used by business users, and it can it can be increased access to more tools, right? So it is easily used by machine learning algorithms, it is usually used by business users, it can be increased access to more tools. So what I mean over here is the structured data has the benefit of having in use for longer, or historically it was the only option. What I mean is there are more tools that have been tried and tested in using and analyzing structured data. So the data managers have more product choices when they use this structured data. So what are the cons of the structured data? Like I can say that it is a predefined purpose limits you. Say for example, when we write schema data definition, it's a large benefit to structured data. It is also true that the data with the predefined structure can be used only for the intended purpose. So this limits its flexibility and use cases. And when we talk about the storage options, the structured data is generally stored in data warehouses. So the data warehouses are data storage systems with the rigid schemas, right? So if there are any change in the requirements, means updating all that structured data to meet the new needs, so that it will result in expenditure of resources and time. So sometimes the cost can be mitigated by using a cloud-based data warehouse. So as this allows for greater scalability and eliminates the maintenance expenses, right? So if we talk about the examples of structured data, it is actually an old familiar friend, because it is basically the basis for inventory control systems and ATMs, and it can be human or machine generated, right? So let us understand unstructured data. So as I told you, it is in its native format and it cannot proceed until it is used, right? So which is known as schema on read. So if you look at the freedom of this unstructured data, it has the freedom of the native format. The data is not defined until it is needed. So this leads to a larger pool of use cases, because the purpose of the data data is adaptable, so that it allows the data scientists to prepare and analyze only the data needed. So the native format also allows for a wider variety of file formats in the database. So the second one is that it is faster accumulation rates. What do I mean over here is another benefit of unstructured data is like data accumulation rates. So there is no need to predefine the data, which means it can be collected quickly and easily. And the third one is about data lake storage. It is often stored in cloud data lakes, which allow for massive storage. So it allows for pay-as-you-use storage pricing, which helps cut cost and allows for easy scalability. But what are the drawbacks of using unstructured data? It requires data science expertise, right? Because it cannot be handled by everyone. A standard business user cannot use this unstructured data because it is undefined or it is not formatted nature, right? So it requires understanding the topic or area of the data, but also of understanding how the data can be related to make it useful. And the second one is about the specialized tools. Right, so not only to the expertise, it also requires some specialized tools to manipulate. So like what is happening here is standard data tools are intended for use with structured data, so which leaves a data manager with a limited choices in products for unstructured data. So some of which are still in their infancy. So it is basically like if we try to understand the examples of this unstructured data, it is qualitative rather than quantitative, which means that it is more characteristic and categorical in nature, right? So this is what the differences between structured and unstructured data. And there is another one which is about semi-structured data. It refers to what would normally be considered unstructured data. That also has metadata that identifies certain characteristics. So it contains some information to enable the data to more efficiently cataloged, searched, and analyzed than strictly unstructured data. So an example of semi-structured data versus structured data would be a tab, a delimited file containing customer data versus a database containing CRM tables, right? So on the other side of the coin, semi-structured data also has more hierarchy than unstructured data. The tab delimited file is more specific than a list of comments for from a customer's Instagram, right? So hope this is clear about the understanding the differences between structured data and unstructured data, right? So this is really important. Like when we study about this NLP, like we will be handling with the unstructured data most of the cases, right? So let us try to understand what is this natural language properties. So as I told you, NLP is a branch of AI that helps computers to understand, interpret, and manipulate human languages like English or Hindi to analyze and derive its meaning. So, and also it helps developers to organize and structure knowledge to perform tasks like translation, summarization, named entity recognition, all those kind of stuffs, right? So like let us try to understand how this basically what are the properties of the natural language, in the sense like it could be related to grammar, which is basically rule based, and the second one is about the vocabulary and hybrid language. The fourth one is connotation. So what do what do I mean by connotation, because this word can be new to you. So what I try to mean over here is connotation means connotation means, say for example, I'm using a word called handicapped. Okay, so I'm using a word called handicapped. So now if you look into the word, this looks like something negative. So sometimes people use the word called handiable, though it carries equal meaning. Sometimes no, both may bring some kind of no, like when you call it as handiable, it could be something positive, right? And there could be ambiguity, ambiguity in the sense, say for example, I'm saying like bear, right? So BAR. When I say that, it could be noun at the same time, it could be sometimes verb also, right? So basically this differ, right? The next one is about the slang. What do I mean by slang? Slang in the sense I'm talking about the internet slang. Say for example, nowadays we are writing lot of messages in the WhatsApp or in the internet, and or say for example, let me write something like instead of love, we sometimes write it as LUV. So we may understand what this basically mean. Can we expect the laptop or the computer or the machine to understand what this that this love is basically? This love means this. Or else sometimes we are using some hashtags, or else sometimes like we are using short forms like TTYL, right? Um, and sometimes hello we write this way and all, right? So how the computer or the machine will understand these differences among all these, right? See, there are it's really interesting, right? Because the natural language in the sense like however even when we talk about grammar, we call it as rule based, like there are certain rules, right? um, and sometimes we use symbols or strings that no right. So there are lots of things we should really understand about this properties of natural language, and there are two kind of stuffs we should understand. One is about natural language understanding, and what is this natural language understanding, right? Like mapping the given input in natural language into useful representations, or it could be like analyzing different aspects of the language. The second one is like natural language generation. So here, what's happening over here, the text is being planned. So it includes retrieving the relevant content from knowledge base, or it could be like sentence planning. It includes choosing the required words, forming meaningful phrases, and it is setting tone of the sentence. And the next one is like text realization, and it is mapping sentence plan into sentence structure, right? So let me also tell you, actually, we are going to do a lot in this NLP. Let me give you some interesting examples of NLP, like text classification, machine translation, named entity recognition, speech recognition, spell check, automated query in answering, sentiment analysis. See, we must have come across all these terms in our life, but we may not know what is that, right? So we do not know even that is actually related to this NLP, right? Sometimes when we write messages in the WhatsApp, it is showing you the recommendations, right? So we have seen all these, but now in this module, we will try to understand what it means. What does this actually tells us? So what are the advantages of NLP? So users can ask questions about any subjects, and so that they can get the response within the seconds, multiple response within seconds. And also NLP system provides answers to the questions in natural language. NLP system offers exact answers to the questions, and no unnecessary or unwanted information, right? And also the accuracy of the answers increases with the amount of relevant information provided in the question. And the NLP process helps computers to communicate with the humans in their language and scales other language related tasks. And also it allows us to perform more language based data when we compare to a human being without fatigue and in an unbiased and consistent way, right? So sometimes when we talk to humans, like when we ask number of questions, there is a high chance that there is a high possibility of biases over there, but that we cannot expect with this NLP. So what are the disadvantages of the NLP? Like complex query language, the system may not be able to provide the correct answer. the question that is poorly worded or ambiguous. So if there are any ambiguities, the system may not be able to understand, right? And this is being built for a single and a specific task only. So it is unable to adapt to new domains and problems because of its limited functions, right? And also NLP system does not have a user interface which lacks features that allow users to further interact with the system, right? So these are basically like we tried to understand in this lecture, like what is NLP, what are the advantages, what are the disadvantages, and what is the difference between structured and unstructured data, and what are the challenges while dealing with the unstructured data. So hope you enjoyed this session. So let us meet in the next video. Thank you.